and the regular board meeting. If you all join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. And before we do the pledge, as we stand, I would like for us to pause for a moment of silence to recognize and remember 3 recent PSTA employees who have passed away. PSTA Access Reservation Agent Elise Jackson, PSTA Bus Operator Jamon Amari Melville, and Maintenance Supervisor David Fry. Thank you. Commissioner Robinson, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Before the hearing begins, Brad Miller, PSTA's Chief Executive Officer, would like to say a few words about the great effort by PSTA employees to help apprehend a criminal who recently assaulted one of our bus drivers. So I'll turn things over to Brad.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Chair Driscoll. As most of you probably know, last week we had a terrible incident involving one of our bus operators. Our driver was the victim of an unprovoked attack. It happened just outside the bus, outside of the safety barriers, which are on every PSTA bus, on our Central Avenue trolley in St. Petersburg. I am happy to report that the operator is at home recovering, and we wish him well and his family well. But I also want to thank and take this moment to recognize 2 other great PSTA employees, bus operator Ramon Perez and transportation supervisor Jelsko Bunchik, who identified this suspect riding the bus in Largo the very next day. They assisted with Largo Police's arresting of the suspect and did a phenomenal job handling the situation. Our operators are fantastic at what they do, and I am very grateful for each and every one of them. Thank you to Mr. Perez, Mr. Bunchik, and all of the SEIU represented employees of PSTA that worked together to get this criminal off the streets so fast.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you. We have 2 commissioners who are joining us virtually. Commissioner Albritton and I believe Commissioner Peters is supposed to be joining us virtually. Okay, all right. So could I get a motion to allow Commissioners Albritton and Peters to participate by Zoom?
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes. Thank you. And now on to our second millage and budget public hearing. The purpose of this public hearing is to receive public input and allow the public to ask questions concerning the authority's proposed millage rate, proposed operating and capital budget, and proposed service adjustments for fiscal year 2024. Tonight, we'll consider the final millage rate and the final 2024 budget. Copies of our proposed budget are available if you've not already obtained one. The proposed fiscal year 2024 budget is included herewith, with an operating budget of $114,511,920 and a capital budget of $73,531,077. The fiscal year 2024 tentative millage rate is 0.7500. The fiscal year 2024 rollback rate is 0.6764. The FY 2024 proposed millage rate of 0.7500 is 10.88% greater than the rollback rate. PSTA's millage rate cap is 0.7500. The property tax rate used to fund the fiscal year 2024 budget I'm sorry, the property tax rate is what's used to fund the fiscal 2024 budget. And now a statement from Brad Miller.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, this public hearing has been scheduled so that the general public may be given the opportunity to comment on the proposed millage rate, budget, and service adjustments for fiscal year 2024. A paid advertisement concerning the public hearing appeared in the Tampa Bay Times on August 27th. Notices were posted at Park Street Terminal, Grand Central Station, Williams Park, Pinellas Park Transit Center, the PSDA Administrative Headquarters, on all PSDA buses, and on the PSDA website on August 25th. An announcement was posted also on social media on August 25th. To date, staff has received 52 comments from the public via email or mail concerning the millage rate, and those are in your packet and here, service adjustments, and the budget.
Thank you. And now PSTA's Chief Financial Officer, Debbie Laos, will summarize the budget. Good evening, Debbie.
Good evening, and hello, everyone. Debbie Leas, Chief Financial Officer here at PSTA. Went to sleep. So tonight we have two action items before us. The first is to adopt a resolution for the final millage rate of .7500, and one is to adopt a resolution for the fiscal '24 final budget for PSTA. Now, I've been a CFO of a public transit agency for 23 years, between here and New York. I've been in public transit for 34 years. This is the first time I have ever seen where we've been able to contain expenditures within 1.1% year over year. Now, we have met a lot of challenges over the time, a lot of it out of our control. We already had contracts in place with service providers, with our union members, and we had to deal with a very high inflationary environment, about 10% locally. The insurance market has been extremely difficult, as each one of us personally and professionally knows. We've seen insurance costs go up about 15% in this budget. Now, I'm very proud of the fact that we negotiated a contract for our health insurance with 0% increase. So that means 0% increase to PSTA, 0% increase to our employees. However, this did absolutely nothing to reduce our costs. It just kept them flat. So we went to each and every one of our divisions, and we worked to reduce costs across all functions. And I'm going to just take a moment to say thank you to our internal team members, which we've got our financial planning and analysis team behind me here, Al Burns, Nick Sagan, and Kevin Lai, who've done an amazing job, along with all of our directors and chiefs, and the board, who has come to us with a lot of great ideas to help us through this process. One of the things that's not perfunctory here at PSTA is we listen to the public, and the public comment is very important to us. At the last public hearing, which was held on September 13th, we heard from a lot of members of the public. And based on that, the board asked staff to come back and see what they can do to restore the routes for Route 32, 5, and 58. So the Route 32 is a St. Petersburg circulator that it will continue to serve the Arlington Arbor and other affordable housing areas and the west side of downtown St. Petersburg. Route 5 will continue to operate the 5th Street St. Pete College Gibbs campus. The Route 58 is the St. Pete College Seminole campus, Bryan Dairy Road route, and will continue to go east to Gateway Mall, but will be removed from Carillon, which will continue to be served by Route 52. This was based on public feedback and a more detailed ridership analysis by our PSTA planning team. To be able to do so, staff was also tasked with finding savings, and I am happy to say we were able to do that. So what we did is we took a look back at the budget, and we were able to remove about $100,000 worth of expenditures, just removing trash cans in low ridership areas. We also took a look at the paratransit access ridership data, since we now had numbers through August. And based on ridership data, we amended our forecasts for the program, and were able to find $247,000 worth of savings. This has nothing to do with what I'll be talking about in a minute or two, about any of the fare structure. This is purely based on ridership. We also took a look at our fuel, and we were able to garner a little bit more fuel savings. We've done an excellent job, I think, in a very volatile environment of locking in fuel, with savings over where we first started of at least $1 million. So Commissioner Scott, we locked in at $2.48 on the average. I think that's pretty healthy. So we've gone through and come up with all of these savings that are on here. And one of the other things that was brought up through public comment was our paratransit MOD pilot fare structure that we introduced at the last meeting. And with this structure, what was originally introduced was $3.50 for the first 2 rides, $6 for the next 2 rides, and then $10 on up. What we heard from the public was this does not match what we need to do on a daily basis to be able to achieve our goals in life, whether it be going to grocery stores, going to medical appointments, going out to dinner. So we listened to what everybody had to say, and we have revised our recommendation. We have simplified it. So we took a look at this and said rides 1 through 4 will remain at the $3.50, and rides 5 and up will be at $6. We took a look at some average ridership numbers and taking a look, how would this really impact? And really, it's probably 95 to close to 100% of the riders on any given day will fall within the 1 to 4 rides. So we're pretty pleased we were able to come back and be able to do that piece. In addition, Commissioner Latvala had taken a look at the revenue side of the house. And it was suggested that we take a look at some potential fare-free days, and what would come back with what would it be for increased revenue if we eliminated any one of these days. So you can see from the chart, all of the days come up to $72,600. And what we did is we took a look at our average, like weekday or weekend amounts that would be on there. So it's just an average on there to take a look at. Now, the good news is we were able to balance this budget you're going to vote on without this, so that we're balanced. However, this does allow for additional consideration by the board on which days you would like to remain fare-free, and it could be discussed at a future meeting, or it could be discussed tonight. So with that, I will take any questions, or we can move to public comment. Whatever the chair.
Thank you. We'll do our public comment and then
Okay.
begin our discussion and questions, if you don't mind.
No?
Thank you. This is going to be the public comment time for the millage rate and for the proposed service adjustments. If you wish to comment on one of these items, you'll want to fill out one of these yellow public hearing cards. And that is only for the millage rate and the proposed service adjustments. Now, got a couple of other cards tonight. It's like an Uno game up here. If you filled out a blue card or a green card and you meant to fill out something to speak on the millage rate or the service adjustments, if you could come up and if you could get one of the yellow cards filled out, then we'll make sure that you're speaking at the right time. All right. Our first speaker is Melissa Colosi. Yes, if you could go ahead to the
All right.
podium
I'm
and
speaking in regards.
state your name and address.
Oh,
and you'll
Melissa
have 3
Colosi.
minutes.
I'm in Palm Harbor, Florida. Do you want my full address? Okay. I'm speaking on regards to the 813 and 814 route. I've been a resident in Pinellas County since 2003, and due to an unfortunate car accident on my way home from work, I've been taking the PSTA since April. And I use the 813 in the morning, and then I use the 814 to get into Safety Harbor, where I've been working for 5 years. So I'm requesting that you keep that route. I spoke to several riders over the past months. One in particular is a military veteran. He uses the 814, and he also requests, he's visually impaired, and he also requests that you keep the 814 route. Any questions?
No, thank you so
Okay,
much.
thank you.
The next speaker is Rebecca Butcher. Good evening. If you'll state your name and address, then you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Rebecca Butcher, and my mailing address is 330 5 Street North, St. Pete, Florida 33701. And I know that there are some people who work later than 10 p.m. and need the bus to get to work or to get home from work. I met one of those ladies on the bus when I was riding home one night, on a weeknight. And she said she was going to try to make it to the meeting, one of these meetings. Then there's me. I ride the 34 bus about 6 days a week, and where the 90 Express bus is on 34th Street South and Fairfield Avenue South is a stop that I need to be able to catch the 34 or the 90 Express to get to Central Plaza from my neighborhood, so I don't have to walk so far. Also, and if you take away the 90 Express stops, then that'll only leave me one bus on 34th Street to catch. That one runs every half hour. And it's faster than the other 2 buses that run in my neighborhood, which is 14 and 15. So please don't cut back bus 90 Express stops or the number 5 stops, because I use number 5 to go to St. Pete College Gibbs Campus Library. I enjoy riding the bus as often as I can. I've been living in Pinellas. I'm 59 years old. I've been living here all my life. I went away to boarding academy for high school, but basically I've lived here all my life. And the bus companies, sometimes the bus hasn't taken me where I wanted to go, so I couldn't go. And especially since my mom died, she would take me to those places I sometimes couldn't get to by bus. And she's been dead for over 8 years, so now I have to get creative. And taxis are not cheap, as we all know. And so some of us, taxis are not really an option. Thank you for hearing me out and giving me this chance to speak to you. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you. The next speaker is Rick Waterman.
Good evening. My name is Rick Waterman. I live at 1763 9th Avenue North in St. Pete. I've been a Pinellas County resident since 1989, and during the time zone, I've had a car maybe about 5 years. Other than that, I've been a PSTA rider from that time zone on. Currently, based on my living and my work environment, I do have access to a company vehicle, but that's not 24/7. So like today is my day off, and I'm on the buses for doctor's appointments and so forth. When the SunRoader came into existence and you took the 18 away, that was a major loss for downtown, for having access to regular stops, whereas the Sunrunner being every 8 to 10 blocks, give or take. I was telling someone earlier, I have a doctor's office at 18th and Central. I used to be able to walk out of his office, cross First Avenue North, get the 18, back up north. Or I could walk out and catch the trolley. Now with the trolley every half hour, the last time I had an appointment, I walked out, I just missed my trolley, which meant a 30-minute wait. So instead, I ended up walking all the way to Fifth Avenue to catch the 9 to get back to Grand Central again. So it's little things like that. Budget-wise, my only suggestion would be raise the rates, raise the fares, a quarter, 75 cents, something of that nature. Put some more money back in the budget again. The 10 o'clock curfew, if you please, I think it's going to hurt a lot of people, especially those who might live in St. Pete, work in Largo, work in Pinellas Park, work in even Clearwater for that matter, have to get back home again. Maybe their job doesn't end till 10 o'clock at night. What are they going to do? So I suggest you try to keep the 10 o'clock, get that out of the picture, and bring us back to maybe not as late as we're running currently, but something a little bit better than that. So, thanks very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Ken Warrington.
Hello, everybody. Ken Warrington. I live in Heritage Presbyterian Apartments in Largo. And I have a late shift, and the 11 o'clock bus is convenient to that shift. 10 o'clock would make it difficult for me, so I'm hoping you'll keep the 11 o'clock on the 18 bus.
All right. Thank you, sir. The next speaker is Cindy Scott.
Yes, my name is Cindy Scott. I live in St. Petersburg, Florida. And I didn't get the email about like the buses, because I ride the buses all the time. I take the 15 and I get off at Central and catch the 5. My son goes to college, and this is the only one that I can get to work, because the 7 is too late. And if I don't have the 5, I have to walk from Central and 40th Street, all the way Central Avenue and 40th Street, and walk down to 5th Avenue North and 40th Street. And I can't walk like I used to walk, so the 5 is like a big help for me. And the drivers that I have right now, they're just awesome. So it would definitely benefit me, because I don't want to have to try to walk. It'll probably take me half an hour to walk that far, the way I walk now. I know you remember I used to be able to get around, but I would appreciate if we can keep the 5, because like I said, that's the only, 7 would get me there too late and stuff. So the 5 is like right on time. And I appreciate all the time you do for the hurricane and all that too. Couldn't imagine not riding the bus, I guess. But hopefully we can keep the 5, because that will be a big help for me and for my son. But thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Alan Petrillo.
Alan Petrillo, 1242 14th Avenue North in St. Petersburg. I am a lifelong resident of Pinellas County, 27 years in St. Petersburg. Madam Chairperson, this is my trim notice. I'm going to pay 10 weeks of my income to property taxes. In that context, the extra $44 that PSTA would add to my millage rate is completely lost in the noise. Raise the rates. It's that simple. Raise the rates. Give us a real first world mass transit system. Raise the rates. If that's what it takes, that's what it takes. I support the millage raise. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Carla Correa.
Carla Correa, 345 Fifth Avenue North. I am a lifelong resident of Pinellas County, and I'm here to speak against any and all cuts to service. As someone who does not own a car, I rely on the PSTA every single day to get to work, and my work requires me to travel all over the county. I work as an organizer for the Pinellas Classroom Teachers Association and the Pinellas Educational Support Professionals Association, which is a teachers union and support staff union, which we know is under intense attack here in Florida and at risk of being decertified thanks to the corporate giants who wish to see public education defunded into nothing in favor of private for-profit schools. I use the PSTA to travel all around the county to speak with our essential educators who are being pushed further and further into absolute poverty, many of whom also rely on the PSTA. Everywhere we look, we're seeing cuts to the public sector, cuts to the public sector at the expense of the public good. With the cost of living crisis that workers are seeing here, especially in this county, we need to be talking about expansions to public services, not cuts. We know that a 25-minute drive here in Pinellas County is at least a 2-hour bus ride. And then when the bus is late due to the bus driver shortage or whatever the case, folks are forced to spend money on private services like Uber and Lyft. And not only do we need to expand the bus system, but it needs to be free for all. The revenues gathered from fares are less than 5% of the total revenue, which could easily be picked up by the city of St. Petersburg alone or the county. Additionally, we shouldn't be talking about cutting trash collection, especially in times of, further environmental crisis. We need to make sure that our county remains clean. And also, we need to be talking about expanding the bus hours, not cutting them. It's really telling, frankly, that the only bus being considered to not end early is the Sunrunner. The workers who serve the tourists until 2 a.m. need to get home too. When making decisions about public transit, average, hardworking residents of Pinellas, the people who make this county run, need to be at the forefront of the discussion, not tourists. Transportation is a human right. Please consider taking a stand with the working people of Pinellas and take a stand against these service cuts. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is William Kilgore.
Hi, everybody. Thanks, Chair. My name's William Kilgore. I'm a resident of St. Pete, and I live currently in the Ponce de Leon neighborhood. I just wanted to speak on the millage here. It's crazy because I know it's capped. I know there's things with state law and everything. But I'm talking about like the bigger picture. It's wild that, we have these record, property increases, the property rates and revenues are way up, and that we have public services and considering cuts to it. It just shows how out of whack everything is. But in a pragmatic sense, I mean, you look for this. There's instead of making cuts, I mean, you've got reserves. If that's something that there's some reason you don't want to touch it, you can't touch it, whatever. Look, these local municipalities need to step up. Then, Pinellas County government, St. Pete government, and fill the gap. And that's got to happen. Either way, big picture, I mean, you've got, developers, corporations, they're coming in to places like St. Pete. They're talking about, we want transit-oriented development and all this kind of stuff, but they don't want to pay for it. They don't want to pay their fair share, and these big business groups have gone up to Tallahassee. They've lobbied to have all these weird rules and things where you can't tax, or you can't do impact fees or, whatever, limiting those kind of options that municipalities have, to make sure this stuff is funded. I think if this was another type of public service, if it was talking about like police or fire or something like that, it would be like, no way, we'll figure out a way to do it, But in this case, it's like, this is transit. This is, all of us rely on it. I've been riding PSTA since I was like 10 years old, in North Pinellas too, and it's critical up there. That's why I hear people talking about these safety harbor routes. I mean, down in St. Pete, I cycle, so it's easier for me to get around. I'm able-bodied and young, but it's I still ride the bus. I rode the bus to get up here too. So it's important, and especially like in North Pinellas, some of these routes is critical for the people who ride it, even if it's low ridership. It doesn't matter. This is, important. So the thing is with cuts, it puts the burden on working people. It takes the burden off of, corporations and businesses who should be, paying for this if they want to come and develop and expand their workforces and all that kind of thing. So that's not a problem that can be solved right here in the immediate, but it's something that needs to be talked about in these public-private partnerships and these corporations that don't have our best interest at heart. They're not paying their fair share, and that burden should not be on working people by raising fares or anything like that. It's like it should be, the corporations. So, thank you so much for listening. I appreciate y'all.
Thank you. The next speaker is Al Chesson.
Hello, my name's Elle. I live on 9th Avenue North in St. Petersburg, and I'm also a health worker up in Largo. I stand before you to implore you to reconsider the decision to cut routes and cutting services at 10 p.m. While it's true that some routes may have few riders or less than average, these routes are a lifeline for us poor people and workers that have a variety of schedules. Transportation is not a luxury, it's a basic necessity. But beyond that, I urge you to envision a future where more people actually choose to ride the bus. It's not a distant dream, it's successful in many places around the globe. We can make it a reality by investing in robust transportation networks, ensuring buses run on time, and ensuring they are functional and reliable. People will actually choose public transport when it's convenient and efficient. Moreover, consider the possibility of making fares free, and they absolutely should be. Currently, fares account for a tiny percent of PSTA's yearly revenue. By eliminating fares, we can further remove financial barriers to public transportation, making it even more accessible to all members of our community. But that won't happen, right? Because this board despises homeless people. At least that's what I saw at the board meeting on August 23rd. Charging for the Sunrunner, even though it was initially designed to be a free service, sends a troubling message. It disproportionately affects poor people, and it's a measure that discourages the homeless population from accessing transportation. For what? So the rich don't have to see the problem that capitalist, profit-driven economy creates? This action, along with other route cuts, raises concerns about equity and inclusivity in our community. So what are workers going to do? We're going to get organized and keep fighting for transportation, just like we're fighting for housing, fair pay, and healthcare. Everything we are owed as workers. Thanks.
Thank you. And that was the last speaker request who had filled out a yellow card. If you filled out a blue card or a green one, your time will be coming up very soon. At this time, we'll close this public comment section and go to our board discussion. And Commissioner Albritton, I will keep checking for you. If you do raise your hand to speak, we will get you in there. So just want you to know that we do see you.
Thank you.
And we have Commissioner Cox.
Here we go. Thank you, Madam Chair. And I want to again thank everyone that spoke here this evening. I have a few questions here of staff. One is, what would the savings be on the revised fare structure for those frequent riders on MOD? What kind of savings are we looking at here?
We're actually looking at trying to be having people become more efficient in how they do their rides. So we're not going to have a really large fare impact by the restructuring that we just recommended this evening. It's more to allow, because we've seen an increase in the number of riders or eligible people in the program. They are now moving from paratransit access to mobility on demand, which is thoroughly understandable. From a PSTA perspective, that helps to save us money of mobility on demand versus the regular program.
Okay, what kind of figures do we have that show that? Because the numbers that I look at, that the access paratransit remains rather static, and actually lately it's been increasing. And mobility on demand is completely out of control. Every year, for the last couple of years, it like impacts our budget at least another $1 million each year. And that concerns me. And it concerns me that it's going unbridled, essentially. And at one point in time that we did initiate in-house evaluations of applicants, and that no longer happens. I believe I'm correct on that we no longer do in-house. If somebody applies for the service, and we would have individuals actually come up here for an evaluation, and that's out the door now. So I think that opens the door for individuals that may or may not need to use that service to be approved for that. And number two, what could we do if we put $200,000 more into our budget right now? What could we do with that?
A lot of things.
I mean, we can do it. We can simply do it. With the MOD program, PSTA charges $3.50, and with the Access Paratransit, it's $4.50 as mandated by the ADA. So we could simply make that even, and I've heard so much that, oh, yeah, we're doing this because it's keeping people off of access. But the fact of the matter is the MOD service is very attractive to people because of the supply of vehicles that are out there. If we ride Uber, like I've ridden Uber, you can get them in 5 or 10 minutes, and that's why we have so much, in my opinion, of the MOD rides. And I think it would be fair and equitable simply to have both fares for our access individuals and for other individuals that have problems with riding, paratransit, and just make that even. There's $200,000 right there that we won't be affecting what we've heard that could be put towards helping people, maybe rides later at night. Routes 8, 13, and 14, I'm concerned about that too. 8, 14, I'm concerned about because if we don't have scheduled service there, then does not the paratransit individuals, will they have access to service? That's a deep concern of mine. Mr. Miller?
The recommendation is yes, so that we would still have paratransit access service in those areas.
In the entire area?
Yes, yes.
Okay, I mean, all right, I just hate to see these cuts to individuals taking their time to come here and express their concerns when we can do some things to change that. And that's all I have for the moment. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Flowers.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to, for the young lady that was talking about the Route 5 and not to cut Route 5, that's a recommendation to restore that route back to service. So I just wanted her to be able to hear that, the young lady in the front row. She was concerned about that. So Route 5 is being requested to come back into the fold, so that should help a little bit. I do have a question because I just want clarification. I came on this board after the planning of Sunrunner, but when I came on the board, we had discussed that the Sunrunner would remain free, and that was a courtesy. It would remain free until February. And then we talked about being able to gauge its efficacy. So we did vote, I supported it, extending the free fare for a year. But a young lady came up and she commented as though perhaps her understanding was that the Sunrunner was supposed to always be free, and I never understood that to be the case. So I just want clarification, that's all, because I'm also hearing that out in the community, and that's never been the case that I knew of. It was never intended that Sunrunner was gonna be free for all eternity. It was that it was a service, and it was free, like as an introductory, to get people to learn about the Sunrunner, to enjoy it, to see the routes and its use and usability, viability, but that though the rates would be instituted, and like I said, initially February of this year, but we did vote and I supported extending it, and then of course October 1. So I just want to make sure for the young lady that shared that, she did a real good job, I think, voicing her points of interest, but I wanted to make sure that was clear for the public's interest.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. There's been a lot of questions about the service extending beyond 10 o'clock. You have to have drivers who are available to drive beyond 10. And it's not just a driver, but it's all the costs associated with the bus and the driver. Have we ever had service extended past 10 for pickup? I know that's like the little special service where you can reserve a ride.
No, we do currently operate a number of routes past 10, especially the trolleys along the beach, and the Central Avenue trolley. Go to midnight.
Okay.
And the recommended budget, that, like the Route 5, the recommendation is not to cut back the service at night, to keep it running as it is today.
Okay.
Those routes that run past 10 would still run with the recommended budget.
Okay. And then I just wanted that to be shared,
Yeah,
because I think it just may be a little confusion there. And the other thing I wanted to say is, I support and I wholeheartedly agree with persons using the bus, because that's what it's for, to take cars off of the road, and to establish those partnerships. We have established partnerships with hoteliers and other businesses that would like to provide some form of subsidy, if you will, for transportation for their team members, with Pinellas County Schools being one. And thank you so much, Brad, and thank you so much, Debbie, for the information that we received with their partnership, Pinellas County Schools partnership, going from 10,000 to 12,500, and looking at the number of rides or the ridership is just really heartwarming to know that many, whether it's teachers and or students, are catching the bus. For example, at Gibbs High School, Gibbs High, St. Pete College Health Education, Pinellas Secondary, SPC Epicenter, PTEC Mid-County, which is Clearwater, and Tyrone. For Bus 79, it services all of those routes. That's over 29,000 rides. That's fabulous, 812%. And then when you go down, even though the rides may not be as large as some of the others, but when you go down and look at Route 16, it services Northeast High and Meadowlawn, which are right next to each other. Those numbers are really good as well at 3597. So for the times when perhaps Pinellas County Schools buses aren't running too well, the students and the staff have an option. So I'm really encouraged by these numbers, well over 34,000 rides, and that's a strong partnership. And I think we could use that as an example when we are trying to market and recruit to other businesses about how this could really work and keep us going. So I just wanted to share those things, and then to have that clarification. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? All right, do I have a motion to approve the final millage resolution?
Move approval of the final millage resolution. I'll second.
We have a motion and a second.
Did you need me to read it to say exactly what?
No, we're going to have a reading of the resolution now.
Okay.
Resolution 23-04, a resolution of the Pinellas County
Pinellas Suncoast Transit Authority fixing the final millage rate to be levied for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2023, and ending September 30th, 2024, and providing for an effective date. Whereas the Pinellas Suncoast Transit Authority, PSTA, has estimated the amount of money necessary to carry on its duties and obligations for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2023, and ending September 30th, 2024. And whereas the estimated revenues to be received by the authority during said period from ad valorem taxes and other sources has been determined by PSTA, and whereas in accordance with the laws of the state of Florida, PSTA has scheduled and/or held a public hearing on September 27th, 2023 regarding the tentative millage rate to be levied for ad valorem revenue. Now therefore be it resolved that a final millage rate of .7500 mills per $1,000 of assessed valuation against the property within the PSTA transit area, not exempt from taxation by law, is hereby adopted. The millage rate is greater than the rolled back millage rate of .6764 mills by 10.88%. A copy of the resolution shall be forwarded to the Pinellas County Property Appraiser, Pinellas County Tax Collector, and Florida Department of Revenue. This resolution shall become effective immediately upon adoption.
All right. Thank you. If we could open the voting system now. Commissioners, please enter your votes. And Commissioner Albritton, could you give us a voice vote, please?
I'm a yes, but my little green.
This happens a lot.
It's okay.
I'm a yes too, Rachel. I'm not.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we'll fix it. I didn't hear Commissioner Peters.
Madam Chair, if you can hear me, I'm a no.
Okay, Commissioner Peters is a no, and Commissioner Albritton.
Yes.
Commissioner-
I'm a yes.
Commissioner Albritton is a yes, thank you. All right, the motion passes 11-3. Thank you very much, and thanks to all who took the time to speak on that item. We certainly appreciate you lending your voice to these important issues. Next, we will have our public comment on the tentative FY24 budget. That one is the blue card. So I have a couple of these. If you wanted to speak on the actual budget, please make sure that you fill out a blue card, and we will get you into the queue for that. The first speaker for the budget is Rebecca Butcher.
Thank you very much for letting me speak again. I have read the budget, and I approve the budget, and I'm for the budget. I vote we pass it. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, thank you. The next speaker is William Kilgore. Oh, okay. Any others? All right, we'll close public comment very enthusiastically, and we will go to our discussion on that, or I'll entertain a motion to approve the final
Chair,
F.
I make a motion to approve resolution 23-05.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. If we could read the resolution, and this one is to be read by title only.
Resolution 23-05, a resolution of the Pinellas Suncoast Transit Authority adopting the final budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2023, and ending September 30th, 2024, for carrying on the duties and obligations of the authority and providing for an effective date.
All right. Thank you. If we could now open the voting system. Commissioners, please enter your votes.
I'm not operator, but I'm a no on this.
And to our commissioners participating virtually, Commissioner Peters, your vote?
I'm a no.
Thank you. And Commissioner Albritton?
I'm a yes.
All right. Thank you. And this motion passes 10-4. All right, and that concludes our public hearing. Now, we will move on to our regular monthly board meeting. So thanks to all who contributed to our public hearing this evening. This is time for public comment. This is the last one. This is the green one. This is for public comment on either consent agenda items or items that are not on the agenda. I have two, so if you wanted to speak about something else that is not on this agenda tonight, the green card is the one you want. And for that, our first speaker is Rebecca Butcher.
Well, no, I did not get a copy of the paper that said what the subjects were, topics were supposed to be addressing.
So you needed a copy of the agenda?
Yeah, I need a copy of the agenda.
All right, we'll make sure you get one. And all right, so does that mean there was something on the consent agenda that you wanted to speak on? If
Oh,
you,
it's on this page, okay. I guess I did, whoops, excuse me. I would like to hear more about Forward Pinellas.
all right, that'll be coming up later.
Oh, that's later, okay. Oh, it's where it says current consent agenda, okay.
Yeah, anything on that list that you wanted to address the board on tonight?
I'd like to approve the August 23, 2023 minutes,
Perfect.
and I don't really know anything about the van pool program, but I'm for anything that can help get the citizens of this county around the county
Yes.
in a cheap, relatively cheap, affordable way, especially for the handicapped population, of which I am one. No, I'm not in a wheelchair, I don't have a walker, I don't have a cane, but I'm still handicapped. I'm mentally handicapped and I'm physically handicapped. And speaking on behalf of the handicapped population, we appreciate how often the bus stops are, except for on the Sunrunner, of course, they're not that close together, but that's only one bus. I mean, what can you do? That's only one bus. The majority of your buses, the stops are close enough together. And for most of them, they are about every 2 blocks apart, which I think is a good distance to be. And like I said before, I've lived here all my life. I've been riding the city bus since I was 10 years old. And I appreciate the great service I've gotten from the majority of the bus drivers. There's a few that are well, shall we say a pain in the butt? Because for example, I've had a bus driver, more than one bus driver, at least 3 bus drivers tell me that here I am standing here with my cart and they're telling me I can't use the bus ramp. I'm like, well, it's telling me it's only for people in wheelchairs. I'm like, no, it's for anybody who has trouble walking. And they want to argue about it. It's like, I mean, it should be obvious to you if somebody's got a cart. Some people with carts, they don't ask for the ramp, but I almost always ask for the ramp when I have my cart. Because a lot of times it's heavy. I just went grocery shopping, and it's heavy. Or it's heavy. Let's face it, shopping carts are heavy, even if you don't buy a lot of stuff. If you just have your regular bags you take with you, when you get on the bus, that's like your adventure for the day. And so you don't know what's going to happen on the bus. You got to be prepared for any circumstance to happen. Oh, I'm out of time, aren't I?
Yes, thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank
Sorry, I
you.
wasn't paying attention to the clock.
No, we appreciate
Thank you for listening to me.
The next speaker is Ken Warrington.
Hello, Ken Warrington again, I live in Heritage Presbyterian Apartments. And when I first lived there, there was bus service to the apartments. There's like 38 buildings full of old people, some more infirm and have more difficulty walking than others. For me to get the bus, I walk, it's at least a quarter mile, and I see some of the folks that still use the bus, that walking in the hot weather, and it's difficult. There are people that don't get to stores, and used to be that they would go to the Largo Shopping Center on a regular basis, and they could get off and do their shopping at Dollar Tree and then at Publix, and then have time to shop and then get on a bus later to come back. And that was cut out, and then they just stop at up by forget the name of it. But the stops to where the bus did stop, it was too far to walk to Dollar Tree or to Publix for the older folks, and I know there's concerns about money and cost, but for the number of people and the amount of service that they had and don't have, I'd like you to reconsider, maybe not at this time, but sometime talk about it and restoring that to the residents of Heritage Presbyterian Apartments. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any others? All right, we'll go ahead and close this public comment. And we'll go to our consent agenda. Are there any items that a board member wishes to pull? Commissioner Cox.
Hey, Madam Chair, and I would like to pull item 4D, which is the on-demand provider contract limit increase. And I'd like to hear I'd like my colleagues on this board to hear the presentation by Ms. Epstein. And
Move approval of the consent agenda with the exception of 4D.
All right, we have a motion to approve the consent agenda with the change for 4D to be voted on separately pending the presentation. Second. All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda with that change. Could we open the voting system, please? Commissioners, please enter your votes. And for our commissioners participating virtually, Commissioner Peters, your vote?
Yes.
All right, and Commissioner Albritton?
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes unanimously. With a pulled consent agenda item, do we do that one, do we automatically take that one up next?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll go to item 4D.
Yes, and Madam Chair, I don't believe I see Ms. Epstein in the audience, so. She's on her way. And I don't know, are we able to get that up on the screen so the Zoom people can see it?
Yeah, and, you know, in the meantime, we could get back to it after we do our committee updates to give Ms. Epstein a chance to get here. Is that all right?
That's not bad.
All right, we're going to skip ahead momentarily to our committee updates, item 5A, the Transit Riders Advisory Committee. Do we have Mark O'Hara with us today?
Hello, I'm joining you via Zoom today. Let me bring my report over here so I can read it. The track enjoyed a hybrid meeting this month on Tuesday, September the 29th, 2023. The committee unanimously approved a recommendation from staff to upgrade the track bylaws to better reflect the committee's operation and to help keep the committee fully staffed moving forward. These minor changes that we are asking you to approve today in your consent agenda include increasing the track member term limit to 9 consecutive years to your board member, the board of directors, which is an increase from the current 6-year maximum. After terminating off of the committee, a member would need to step down for at least 6 months before being eligible to reapply. Track terms, which are now divided between 2 and 3-year positions, would all become 3-year terms. Changing the current mandate that members be from a specific area of Pinellas County to a priority when approving new members. This is being done because the mandate has resulted in several seats on the committee not being filled, even though highly qualified candidates from other parts of the county have applied. Under current bylaws, some members of the committee were considered alternates and were to fill in for the primary members during absence. Since the alternates have been participating in the meeting all the time, we will now add them on as full voting members. On Tuesday, the committee also enjoyed a presentation from PSTA Superintendent of Safety, Security, and Training, Theo Becamalis, and I probably said his name incorrectly, so I apologize, and Safety and Security Training Supervisor Ed Kester about the numerous and impressive awards earned by PSTA Safety and Security Training Division. They also detailed the staff awards that they give out, such as Safe Driver, Driver of the Quarter, and Driver of the Year. Safety, Security, and Training also coordinates the agency's annual bus and maintenance rodeo competitions. They are a very accomplished group and among the most decorated division of their kind in the nation. Our next meeting will be on October 17th, 2023 at 4 p.m. The meeting will be via Zoom most likely, and board members are more than welcome to join us. Thank you, and I'll take any questions you may have.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? All right, we'll go ahead and finish off committee updates with a Forward Pinellas update. That board met on September 13th, 2023. The highlights include board approval of the Forward Pinellas Strategic Business Plan, which serves as a guiding framework for Forward Pinellas work over the next 5-year period. Board approval, the board approved the Advantage Pinellas Active Transportation Plan update and the Advantage Pinellas Transit System Plan development, both of which serve as technical components required for that long-range transportation plan. In addition, Forward Pinellas has launched a new website for the long-range transportation plan where the public can provide input on that plan. The address for that website is advantagepinellas2050.org. That's advantagepinellas2050.org. The next regular Forward Pinellas Board meeting will be held on October 11th, 2023, and I'd be happy to try to answer any questions on that from the board. All right, thank you. Now we'll go back to item 4D. And the on-demand provider contract limit increase. Are we ready for that now?
Do we have it on Zoom? Well, I can just go ahead and get
If
the
you could
presentation. and maybe I
start,
can
that
answer
would be,
Commissioner
I
Cox's
think that would be good. Thank you.
Good evening. I'll do my best job of presenting to be Bonnie Epstein, the Director of Mobility. So this item came to the Finance Committee, and we had a good discussion at the Finance Committee about recommending what this is. And it did pass and recommended to the PSA Board 4-1, with Commissioner Cox voting against it. Again, every contract, for every contracted service PSA has, we have two numbers. We have an authorized number for contracts cannot exceed a certain amount or a certain number of years. These contracts for providing paratransit, PSA Access, Mobility on Demand services were approved 2 years ago for a total cost, up to a 5-year contract with Uber, Lyft, and Bay Area Metro, the taxi company, for up to 5 years at a cost not to exceed $12 million, not to exceed total over all those three companies. These services, the services under these contracts there's various services under these contracts, many of which are grant funded, like the TD Late Shift program that we do, of course, Direct Connect. Our Mobility on Demand program is the largest. We have a program in Tarpon Springs called Healthy Hop. And then we have a regional service that goes across to Hillsborough County as well. Again, we did a procurement 2 years ago and awarded these three contracts to Lyft, Uber, and Bay Area Metro. It's $12.1 million for a 5-year contract. As we've been discussing, the Mobility on Demand program has been incredibly popular, and we are coming close to hitting the $12 million total on those programs after the first 3 years of the contract. And so what the action item tonight is for not approving additional money or additional budget, it is just approving additional authorization for those three contracts as projected for the next 2 years, the final 2 years of the contract. This slide, which you have in your packet, shows 3 different graphs. And what this shows is while the Mobility on Demand program has gone up substantially, it is actually lower cost, substantially lower cost, every time someone chooses to ride PSTA Mobility on Demand than PSTA Access. You can see in the bottom left-hand corner, there's a graph that shows that the cost per Mobility on Demand ride has gone up, but it is still $16.11 per ride. That's on Uber or Lyft or the taxi. And then right above there, the cost on the PSA paratransit service is $51.76 per ride. And Commissioner Cox, as you well know, the reason that we have a lower fare on the Mobility on Demand, and we chose not to make them even, because we do not want people that are riding the lower cost rides to switch back to the higher cost rides. It would not actually save us any money by raising that fare. It would actually cost us money because we think folks, I know you disagree, but it would switch people back to the paratransit system. The ridership has been growing. You can see that the paratransit ridership in the top right-hand graph has gone down, and the ridership on the on-demand program that these contracts serve has gone up. See that Bonnie is here. She can explain her math problem here in the final slide.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I know I always run to the restroom at the wrong time. It's a good way to know, like, when your table's going to be ready, when your food's ready, go to the restroom, then it will happen. But yeah, so this slide just shows about how I put together the $12 million ask. So what we're looking for is enough funding for us to cover through the end of the contract, which is at the end of June 2025. So we need to cover fiscal year 2024. The amount that we have budgeted for fiscal year 2024 for all of the GLs that cover the mobility programs is the $6.2 million that we have in the first bullet. Then we tried to estimate the amount needed for fiscal year 2025. So to do that, looking at a combination of the ridership growth and the cost per trip increases, we estimated a 25% cost increase from fiscal year 24 to 25. So that's how we got the 7.5 million for the second bullet. But because we only need the funding to cover through the end of June, that's the first 9 months of 2025, we're just taking 3/4 of that 7.5 million cost. That's how we get the 5.6. So adding the 5.6 million for the first 9 months of fiscal year 25 to the cost for fiscal year 24, the 6.2, we get the $11.9 million. So just rounding that up to an even 12 million. And the next slide. So then again, just the recommendation is to approve an increase to the contract values for our on-demand providers of Lyft, Uber, and Bay Area Metro for a total amount not to exceed $12 million. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Cox.
Thank you, Bonnie, and thank you for the work you put into this. I want to address what Mr. Miller said, that this move is to reduce rides on paratransit. What we've shown already in our budget that we voted for this access paratransit was initially $10 million a year over a 10-year period, which now reduced down to $8.9 million, and that's what is going on right now with that. I sincerely do not believe that the people that ride the MOD are going to just jump over to the access paratransit because you have to pre-schedule the rides. There's you can be multi-loaded on that as well. On the Uber and Lyft, you cannot be multi-loaded. It's a single vehicle going one way, which is not efficient. And as stated in your on-demand contract limit increase action item, here is that rides on the MOD service now make up more than 60% of all paratransit rides. In addition to the increased ridership on these programs, the cost per trip has increased significantly due to inflation. We're seeing this every year. It's $1 million more every year for the last 3 years now, and now we're going another $1 million on it. All I'm asking is that we even the playing field and have the same copay for the MOD people as well as what they do on the access paratransit. I don't think it's going to, everybody's just going to start riding access because they have to pay another $1. It's a lot more convenient that you can get on the phone the same day and say, I want a ride, and you get it very quickly too, not on the wheelchair service. So the wheelchair service, daily I believe that we have about 600 to 800 rides on MOD. Am I somewhere in the ballpark there? Okay. And out of those rides, only 40 are wheelchair service rides, and the other are the sedan rides. That being said, I'm just hoping that we, even the playing field, we get ourselves another $200,000 that we can help individuals that want rides later or other services and put that in the budget. It's not a hard ask, and I don't think it's difficult to figure this out.
Yeah, two things to your question. The goal with the increasing fare for mobility on demand, it's not to shift riders over to PSD access. I agree. I don't think riders are going to do that. It's just for riders to think about, you know, how and plan their trips a little bit differently and think about how many rides they really need to achieve, you know, what they're trying to do on their day or their week. I know that we did mention Cost per trip has gone up due to inflation. But another reason that we have added a lot of funding to the GLs, or the amount of money that we use for mobility on demand, what's going under these contracts, is also because we've added additional programs. So I know one of them, I'm not sure if Brad mentioned, but I did mention at the Finance Committee, is our TD Tampa Bay service. So that program, it's not part of Mobility on Demand, but it will go under these contracts. We do receive state funding for that, so 90% of that service, as well as the TD Late Shift, other TD services, are covered 90% by a grant. So what we're not asking for, again, additional budget, we're just asking to raise the limit on these contracts.
Okay, and listen, I would agree on this with an amendment that, along with this, that we increase the copay for the MOD $1 each way. It brings in over $200,000 a year. I don't think that it's going to cost PSTA money. I believe it's going to help PSTA, and I still think we'll have this ridership. So that would be my motion on this. I would make a motion to approve this with the friendly amendment on it that we increase our copay on the MOD to $1, which is the same as the other paratransit services. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Before we go further with that, it sounds like this idea deserves a deeper dive, and I could respectfully offer, I can't make an amendment or anything, but I could suggest that instead we approve this item, but then send a discussion to the appropriate committee, whether that be planning or finance, to flesh this out and make sure that we're voting on something that's truly been planned and we know could be successful.
I'd like to hear from Mr. Shulman.
Commissioner Schulman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't know if you wanted to hear from me. So, in this scenario, we'd be looking at $200,000 of additional revenue from 200,000 additional rides, a $1 increase. There's a $35 difference in the cost per ride between the two different services. So we're potentially talking about 200,000 of revenue or $7.5 million of costs. Now, I realize not everyone is going to switch, but that is the risk-reward relationship between those two. And so we can certainly flush it out in another committee meeting, but I don't think that that's a really great trade-off. And I'd like to try to, again, keep encouraging folks to use the mobility on demand as much as they can. But I also did have a separate question that I just wanted to, just for clarification. Bonnie, thank you for this. So under this contract, this is still expensed as it's used, right? So it's not, so if our forecast for mobility on demand or these other issues are lower, then we're not actually going to be using all of this money. It's really just as it's used.
Yeah, correct. The Mobility on Demand programs, we pay the providers the cost per trip. So if the trips don't happen, we're not paying the cost.
Thank you for that. And I would move to approve this as is.
Well, we already have a motion on
We didn't have a second.
floor,
no.
so what we, so since no one else has a request to speak yet, I'll go ahead and say I would vote to approve this item today. However, as the motion stands, I would be voting no, because I am not comfortable with making these kinds of decisions right here on the dais without it being fleshed out in committee. $1 sounds pretty easy, but as Commissioner Schulman pointed out, the devil's in the details, right? So I want to be more familiar and comfortable with what I'm voting on with that. It sounds like it is worth a committee discussion, and so right now my vote is no, unless this is amended to simply include the approval of this item.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner?
Yeah, Madam
Oh,
Chair.
Sorry, let's hear from Brad, and then we'll go.
I don't believe we're allowed to increase the fare today. We would have to have that would have to be, we have a federal obligation, anytime we do a fare increase on anything, we have to have a public hearing on that.
Okay.
So we would have to have a public hearing specifically on that to do
Understood.
what your motion.
Understood. So, again, Madam Chair would take the friendly recommendation of yours, and then we further look into this in committee, all right? And so
Thank
that's-
you. Did you want to designate the committee?
I'm sorry?
Did you want to designate that the finance committee
That
would take
be
it
the
up?
Finance committee, that's correct.
All right, thank you. So are we clear on what the motion is then? It's simply to approve this item and send a discussion to committee regarding any kind of a fare adjustment.
Okay, good. I'm good with that.
Second.
Thank
All
you.
right, we have a
Thank you.
motion and a second. Any further discussion? Looks like we're good virtually. Could we open the voting system, please? Commissioners, please enter your votes.
I'm a yes.
I'm a yes as well. My screen went away.
Okay, so Cox and Latvala
Oh.
are yes, and for our commissioners participating virtually, Commissioner Peters, how do you vote?
Yes.
And
Yes.
Commissioner Albritton?
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes unanimously.
Yes.
Want the discussion?
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. We will go to our reports and correspondence, and Brad Miller, you're up.
Thank you. In your packet are ridership reports for the month of August. Ridership was up slightly, and it was significantly up on PSA Access and Mobility on Demand. Many individual routes, you can see, were down slightly because this past August of 2023 had 2 fewer weekdays, plus a hurricane, where we didn't run. So otherwise, it was a really good ridership month. As Commissioner Flowers noted, I did include a copy of the report we provided to the Pinellas County Schools on our UPass program, which is going well, and I want to thank Commissioner Schulman for getting out to the Pinellas County Schools Annual PTA Leaders Workshop to promote the UPass program, and he might want to say something about that. Speaking of data, and moving on to future meeting subjects, last week I was at the American Bus Benchmarking Group's annual meeting in Jacksonville, which is I think my favorite meeting of the year because the American Bus Benchmarking Group is now a grown group of 25 transit systems from around the country that compare all sorts of benchmark data on all of our services. PSA, once again, is listed as one of the most efficient, lowest cost systems of all of them, and I plan on presenting this data to the Finance Committee either in October or November. Additionally, earlier this month, I attended the Florida Autonomous Vehicle Summit in Tampa, looking at the next generation of autonomous vehicle shuttles. It was great to spend time with a true transportation guru, former Senator Jeff Brandes. Future meeting subjects include we're going to look at the PSA Access fares. We are also going to look at our free fare services that were listed. We're going to renew a agreement we used to have with HART on coordinating services, and that will come back before you now because HART has expressed interest in renewing that. And then hopefully, next month, we will have an agreement with our smaller of our 2 unions, with the SEIU Supervisors Union, and bring that to you for ratification. Speaking of fares, this Sunday, October 1st, we will be initiating fares on the Sunrunner service, and I, along with other volunteer staff, are going to be out there, even starting this week, to help customers learn how to download the Flamingo app and otherwise pay the fare. On Thursday, October 5th, next Thursday, the St. Petersburg City Council is going to be considering a contract with PSDA to support transportation disadvantaged bus passes for low-income residents, similar to how Pinellas County Health Department pays for TD bus passes for its clients. If that is approved by the City Council, low-income residents in St. Petersburg will be able to get their TD Flamingo bus pass starting on November 1st. Then, the day before Veterans Day, on November 10th, we will be offering veterans a Flamingo card that they can register to ride PSTA buses and trolleys at no charge. Earlier today, PSTA in this room held its quarterly employee meeting where we give out updates and recognize employees, and we launched a brand new recognition program, these awesome Post-it notes, which let managers know that their employees have gone up and above and beyond. And so in front of each of you, I gave each of you a Post-it note for being awesome in your special way. Hopefully all the managers here are going to be giving out these Post-it notes. Yeah. Finally, next week I'll be headed to Orlando for the APTA Annual Conference and Expo Trade Show, where among other activities, we are going to be officially receiving our Outstanding Public Transportation System of the Year Award. So with that concludes our report. Yes.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Cox.
Madam Chair, just one more quick, just a quick one, that I have concerns about our starting the fairs on October 1st. And several items. One, that we don't have the cards available for those that don't have, Flamingo card, credit card, debit card, so on and so forth. They can't go buy the paper tap cards. They won't be available till November 1st.
Correct.
So, right. So I'm concerned about that. And I'm also concerned that we have a pretty hefty fee for security on these buses. It'll be $4,200 a week, if I'm correct, with the agreement with Allied Security.
To start, yeah.
Yeah, to start, and that's a 13-week contract, which is like $55,000. And I just think there's a lot of loose ends on this. We'll find out, though. Does it start Sunday or Monday?
Sunday.
Sunday.
Sunday, yeah.
All right, I'll be watching. Thanks. That's all I got to say.
All right.
We do have the plastic Flamingo cards, and we actually have a large number of those. So we will, starting this weekend, we will be giving out, if people don't have an ability to pay or a phone to download the app, then we'll give them a regular Flamingo card. Right. Then November 1st, hopefully we'll have the paper Flamingo cards in place for that, yeah.
All right, may I ask one more question?
Yes,
The guard finds someone that didn't pay, they'll just be removed from the bus? Is that how that works, or how are we going to handle that?
Hopefully we're going to be very customer friendly, and we're going to help them
Good.
get their fare.
That's very good. That's all I got. Thanks.
Yeah.
thank you. Commissioner Fig Sanders.
Thank you so much. And I was going to also echo my sentiments in regards to the fair starting October 1st and the Flamingo cards not being available until November 1st. And how are we going to assist during that interval with those that don't have the Flamingo cards? And I think you just answered it. I don't know if it's a true fix for that 30-day period, but I just wanted to just let everyone know that, I have been contacted in regards to assisting those and how we would actually help those between October 1st and November 1st when they have access to Flamingo to actually ride the buses. So, I mentioned that to you earlier, but I just wanted to state, especially for those organizations that reached out to me with those concerns, that I do hear them. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any other business to discuss? Commissioner Flowers.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to say, first of all, thank you to the chair of our planning committee, Josh Schulman, to Brad and to staff, and to all of those organizations that came to the table to talk about our issues and concerns with the unhoused and homeless population. I thought it was a good conversation. And I thought that there were some very good suggestions that were put on the table. As a result of that, I am asking that when it is the chair's convenient time for us to address two of the things that they said that we probably could do. One was whether or not we'd be able to put little holders with pamphlets for the organizations that provide services and whatnot. So if someone's on the bus, they could get that pamphlet or get that call number or whatever so that they could access that service, or perhaps a rider may have a family member or something like that. But I'd like to maybe get that on our agenda when you have room. And the other was, and I know this is gonna cost somewhere, maybe we'll shift or split advertising for something, but that we cover, but the other suggestion was to have something as a wrap on one of our buses, half the bus or whatever, that talks about if you need help, call 211. You know, I don't know what the advertising piece would look like, but a wrap, so that way as your bus is traveling, our buses are traveling through, people can see that. So to have that maybe on the agenda as well. Those were two things that I thought that we could talk about. And I want to thank Monica from the Homeless Leadership Alliance. She was real good in kind of shepherding some of that conversation, and, you know, coming up with some ideas, you know, not just meeting for the sake of meeting, but actually coming to the table saying, this is what you all do, this is where I see the need is, and perhaps we can form a partnership here. We did have to remind them that PSTA does not get funded to build transitional housing, or affordable workforce housing, things of that nature. But in the areas where maybe we could help, then some ideas started to flow. So I just wanted to say thank you for that. I know it was kind of like, well, what do you expect to come out of this meeting? Well, what I expected is exactly, at least some of the things we can't do, we said. But those are two that I think that maybe are worthy of discussion.
Thank you.
Thank
It's
you.
great to hear that the time wasn't spent simply restating the problem, which is what can happen sometimes.
Yeah.
Real solutions, that's great.
Thank you.
Commissioner Schulman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Are we at board member comments? Or-
Yes, we
Okay,
are.
Just wanted to make sure I'm in the right spot. So along, to dovetail on what Commissioner Flowers said, I think one of the takeaways for me was letting those different partners know that we are a partner, that it's not each one of them working on their own, but we're there to work with them and help communicate to the public as we come across more folks in transition throughout the county than they do. I also, I did get an awesome note. It does say try again, but so we're gonna try again. No, I wanted to dovetail off of what Brad was talking about with the Pinellas County Council of PTAs. They had their fall workshop, and it was great to attend. There were several hundred PTA leaders from around the county, and many of them knew that students and staff and faculty could ride free, but didn't really know what that meant for them and their PTAs and their PTA members and families. And so that the goal was to be there so that they could then know that we can come out to their meetings, come out to their events to help be in front of students and teaching them how to ride the system. And one of the striking things for me was that we're not getting the message out enough about is that PSTA buses are safe places. You know, we have 175, and this is something we said, I don't know, 500 times, that we have 175 safe places driving around Pinellas County all the time, and parents don't know that. And students don't know that. Actually, there was a leader from the Girl Scouts who was looking for speakers to come in and talk about different things in the community, and they didn't know that. So that's a message that I want to make sure that we're getting across, is that not only are we trying in this endeavor to train the next generation of riders, but we're also here to remind them that PSTA, just like with the unhoused, is a partner in the community for those that need us in whatever way we can be. So I appreciate Brad and PSTA for trying to make that happen and allow us to be at that event, and I hope we're able to do it again next year. Thank you.
All right, thank you, that's great. Any other comments or updates? All right then, our next meeting will be on October 25th, 2023 at 9 a.m. Thank you to all who came to speak, present, and participate. The meeting is adjourned.
3-0, buddy.
It doesn't say try again, but I thought
Jeffrey, 3-0, Brad.
3-0, what inning?
5th.
Rays are up 3-0 in the 5th inning.
Now 7th.
All right, sweetie.